Hello everybody, this is Natalie from the equipment shop at the Outdoor Center. Hope everybody is doing well and taking care of themselves, and thanks for tuning into this video. I'm recording here from my balcony here at my parents' house in Austin, Texas, so if the scenery looks a little bit different, that's why. A lot of oak trees here and cedar trees. So here in my first bike tech video, I wanted to go over one of the most common issues for which people come into the Outdoor Center to get help with their bike, which is, as you might have guessed, a flat tire. So typically speaking, you have two options with how you can fix a flat tire. The first would be buying a patch kit to patch up your current tube. Patch kits typically cost about $2 and usually have multiple patches in them. So you can fix multiple different flat tires with the same patch kit that you bought for $2. The other option is buying a completely new tube. Tubes usually cost $5 to $6. When choosing between these two options, either buying a patch kit or buying a completely new tube, I would suggest first taking a look at your punctured tire. If the hole is really small and you're probably having trouble finding where it actually is, I think that a patch kit would be sufficient. However, if your hole is rather large and has been caused by either a pinch flat or something like that, then the better way to go would be a whole new tube. If you do choose to buy a new tube, there's two things that you want to make sure of. The first is that the valve system on the tube you're buying matches the valve system on the current tube that you have. There's two types of valve systems, either Presta valves shown here or Schrader valves shown here. It should be easy to look on your bike and match up which type of valve you have to the type of valve that is shown on the tube box that you're buying. Here you can see that this tube has a Schrader valve, just like the one shown in the picture. The second thing to make sure of is that you're buying the right size tube. You can do this by looking at the edge of your tire and matching the two numbers on the side of your tire with the two numbers on the box of the tube that you would like to buy. So how do we actually go about fixing a flat tire? You only actually need two tools aside from your either your patch kit or your tube. The first is a tire lever, which looks like this. And the second is a pump, either a hand pump like this or a floor pump like this. If you're at home like me and don't have a bike stand, the first thing you'll do is flip your bike over like this. This will give you an easy platform to work on. Next, we'll insert our tire lever in between our rim and our tire, like so. Then, we'll bring our tire lever all the way around our whole tire, like so, until it's popped open. And from here, you'll be able to take out the tube. Keep in mind that when you first start trying to move the tire lever all the way around the rim, it'll be pretty hard to move it at first. You'll have to definitely put some good force on it, but after that initial punch, it should be easy to move it around the rest of the rim. The next thing that you'll need to do is remove your tire from your bike. To do this, simply lift up on the lever, twist on either side as needed, and then remove your wheel from your bike. Taking off the back tire is pretty much the same sort of deal. You'll first loosen up the lever. The only difference is that you'll pull back on the derailleur, which is this thing, in order to be able to fully release your wheel. So pull back, and now you can lift up and release your wheel. One tip to make it a little bit easier to take your rear wheel off and also to put it back on is to make sure your chain is along the smallest cog in both the front and the back. In other words, put your bike into the easiest gear in the front and the hardest gear in the back. Now you'll be able to remove your tube from your bike. One thing that you might need to do before removing your tube is to unscrew this little guy right here on your valve so that your valve can actually pass through the hole here to be removed along with your tube. So now we're at one of the most important steps, which is inspecting your popped tube. First, I would go over your whole tube and see if there's any obvious gashing holes. If you don't see any big holes, your best bet might be just a simple patch kit. And in order to find a really small hole, my best recommendation would be to get a bucket of water and then submerge your tube, which should be still partially inflated, into this bucket of water. Wherever you see bubbles coming from will help you find exactly where the hole is. If you choose to go with this patch kit option, there's usually a set of instructions on your patch kit. Typically what you'll do is roughen the area with sandpaper, apply some glue if your patch doesn't already have sticky stuff on it already, and then you'll inflate the tube. Before putting your newly patched tube or your new tube into your rim, one thing that's really important to do is go through your rim with your fingers and also visually and make sure there's nothing sharp or pokey in there that initially caused your first flat tire, because you wouldn't want to have another flat tire caused by the same thing that gave you your first. Alright, now you're ready to put your partially inflated tube back into your rim. The first step in doing this is finding the valve on your tube and putting it into the valve slot on your rim. Once you do this, then put the rest of your tube around your rim. Now you're ready to tuck the edges of your tire back into your rim. One thing you want to be super careful about is to make sure that no part of your tube is tucked in between your tire and your rim. If so, you'll get another flat in what's called, it's called a pinch flat. And this happens when you initially inflate your tire. There'll be a big boom and you'll have a big hole and you'll have to start all over again. So, number one thing is make sure, again, that any part of your new tube or your old tube, if you patched it, is not caught between your tire and your rim. Alright, now it's time to put the wheel back onto the bike. We'll put the disc brakes in between the brake pads, and then now we can tighten up the levers, and once we're sure that they're tightened up well, we are good to go. The rear tire back on. First, you'll want to put the chain over the gear cogs, like so. Then, you will pull back again on the derailleur, which I can't do while taking this video, so you'll just have to imagine that part on your own. But once you do that, everything should fit back together, and you should be able to get your wheel back on. And the last thing to do is to just check your tire for the desired PSI, and pump your tire up to this pressure. When pumping up your bike, you'll notice that most pumps have two different valve ends. One is Schrader and one is Presta. The one that is Schrader will have a little part sticking out like this in the middle, a lot more than the other side, which is Presta. So that's the best way to tell, or you can just do trial and error. Before pumping up your new tube, it's important to remember that if you have a Presta valve, you must open it up by twisting this little guy right there before putting any air in. Once you put your air in, simply twist it clockwise again to close it, and you're good to go. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope it helped you a little bit and you feel more prepared on how to fix a flat tire. And I wish you all the best.